Faster my good evening and welcome to the Mags Radio Folk Show with me, John Barker, playing you the best in folk and roots music from the Isle of Man and from all around the world. I've got a couple of songs from the new Brooks Williams and Aaron Catlow album, Greens and Blues, for you tonight. This first one is Going to Pot.
It's all going to pot, whether we like it or not. The best I can tell, the world's going to hell, and we're sure gonna miss it a lot. All the whiskey in Lynchburg, Tennessee, just couldn't hit the spot. I've had my fill, this ain't no drill, the whole world's going to pot. Cackle babble head in a box, he must think I'm as dumb as a rock. Reading me the news while I'm kicking off my shoes, and he's scaring me right out of my socks. A cool operator I'm not, but buddy, let me tell you what it was, what it is. Well, the whole world's going to pot. It's all going to pot, whether we like it or not. The best I can tell, the world's going to hell, and we're sure gonna miss it a lot. All the whiskey in Lynchburg, Tennessee, just couldn't hit the spot. I've had my fill, this ain't no drill, and the whole world's going to pot.
Great track there from Brooks Williams and Aaron Catlow, joined by John Short on double bass. And I'll play another track at the end of the show that's very different from that one. Next up, Laura Jane Wilkie, hailing from the Highlands, has released an album called Vent. It's centred around walking songs, that's W-A-U-L-K-I-N-G, which are the ancient women's songs that were associated with walking the tweed cloth. Laura studied these songs and adapted them for fiddle, and it's a very fine album indeed. This track is called I'm Sad in the Braes of the Glen. couple of weeks ago, I sat down with Ian Radcliffe to talk about his publication, the William Killey Flute Book. So let's hear that conversation now. Well, I'm joined in the studio now by Ian Radcliffe, and he's coming to talk about the William Killey Flute Book. Hi, Ian. How are you doing?
Hello, John. It's good to be back in the studio.
Hi. Well, we'll talk about the book in just a minute, but we do have listeners who are not from the Isle of Man. I'm sure everyone here knows lots about Ian Radcliffe, but just in case, tell us a little bit about yourself.
People on the island, you may have recognised me from the Callaghass Ceilidh Band. I called for them for something over 20 years. I've also been involved in Manx dancing, and with the group Bocchio and Fanny, performed right across the Celtic nations and in England as well.
Brilliant.
I'm also involved in the International Concertina Association, and I've attended numerous other folk festivals, as many of us do.
Yeah, it's certainly a well-known figure in the folk circuit around. I think the Callaghass Ceilidh Band played at my 30th birthday party in Laxey once. You probably called it that.
Quite possibly.
That was a long time ago. Right, so the book. It's the William Killey Flute Book. Who was William Killey?
We're not really sure who William Killey was, but I have narrowed it down to one of possibly two William Killiers that appear in the records from Derby. He lived in a place called Cerracroy, which is on the boundary between Derby and Andreas, and all the dates seem to fit quite well. There is another William Killey I came across, but his family emigrated to America, so I think it's unlikely to be him.
Mm-hmm.
So this William Killey was born in the late 1700s, and the book was originally started by David Kane in 1824 or 25.
All right, 200 years ago.
And passes to William Killey in 1835. We have records that this William Killey died in 1870, and through the material in the Folklife survey from the 1950s and 60s in the museum, I was able to match this potential William Killey up with the gentleman who donated the manuscript to the museum itself, Mr. Collister, who lived on the boundary of Derby and Andreas.
Okay. So it's very much from that area of the island.
Yes.
Okay. And so the Collisters donated it to the museum, and then what was the process after that? How did you come across this manuscript?
Well, I came across this through your predecessor, John Conneen, and the folk programme on Manx Radio, where he talked about it at one stage. So I went to the museum, dug out the microfilm, and started to have a look at the music itself, and photocopied it all. It then sort of sat on a shelf for a long time, until I found time, and we had things like the internet to allow me to do a bit more research into the tunes themselves. And I've taken it from there, trying to match up the tunes with where they're also found across the British Isles.
Yes, there's a lot of research in here. I was very impressed by that, the amount of searching you must have done in terms of the origins of some of these tunes, and trying to match a tune with an unknown tune with tunes with titles elsewhere must be quite a hard thing to do.
Yes, although the internet has made it easier these days. There's things where you can type in perhaps a few bars of notes,
right,
and it will come up with suggestions.
Okay.
But it's then going down the rabbit holes looking for the originals of these tunes.
That's brilliant. And what I really notice about it is not a book of folk tunes, is it? It's a massive range of styles of music.
Yes, that's what really fascinated me, is it seems to start with some hymn tunes. So my suspicions are that David Kane was involved with the music at Derby Church in some capacity, and he's used those as a starting point. One of the things I have left out of the book are all the lessons, the scales and things that are in the original manuscript, and I get the impression that David Kane would have been William Killey's mentor.
Right.
It passes to William Killey in the 1830s and just seems to grow from there.
So do you think he was playing in a band or something like that and accumulated these tunes?
There is a record on a slip of paper that exists on the microfilm that may have disappeared from the manuscript, suggesting that William Killey had played in the Derby band. However, I've not been able to find any other records that show anything about the Derby band, although there's more research to be done. For example, through the records of the friendly societies, where they may have used the Derby band for entertainment.
Yeah, in fairs and such like in the village and things
Yes,
like that. Yeah.
yes, and concerts in the churches and chapels. It does suggest that in the material I found in the Folklife survey that William Killey was a friend and contemporary of the Mr. Collister who donated the manuscript. His grandfather had played in a band with 5 fiddles, and possibly William Killey was part of that.
Okay, and there are a couple of tunes with local names, isn't there? So was it a Derby March?
I think there's a Derby March, there's a Ramsey March, there's possibly a Derby Waltz as well.
So perhaps they were even composed for things that were going to be happening in the local area.
Quite possibly, as the fragments that are there don't match up to anything else I can find anywhere, either in written sources or on the internet.
Yeah, but these aren't, it's not, as we were saying before, a book of session tunes as such. There's all sorts in there. Is there any other Manx material in there?
The one that stands out, of course, is Mulla Karain, the song tune. There's no words with it,
Okay.
but it's something that's been around for several hundred years in the island and is still sung, and became the basis of Mulla Karain's March, the dance tune, and eventually the Manx national anthem.
Indeed. Yes, and after this, perhaps I'll play Brian Stowell singing a version of that, because he has a great version in Manx, doesn't he, that we can find and get played at the end of our chat. Are there any tunes in there you think could do with reviving and bringing into the Manx session scene on the island?
Perhaps the one that stands out as being the most appealing to me would be the Bath Medley, but there are others there under names that we'd recognise, such as Gallopede. This is the version that's also known as the Inner Persian Market, I think.
Okay.
And you'd recognise if you played it.
Yeah, I did get my mandolin out and try to play through some of them, and it was great fun actually, because you've not adapted any of his transcription of the tunes, have you?
As far as possible, I've tried to transcribe it as I found it in the manuscript. There are a couple of exceptions. There's, I think, 2 or 3 tunes that they're actually in 2 parts, and we've sewn those 2 parts together. Yeah. And there's one tune where we put some rests in simply to fill the bars.
Yes.
But by and large, we've tried to leave it alone rather than say, yes, we got this tune, but this is what people actually play elsewhere.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because obviously I've never seen the microfilm, but you've included a few photographs of the original manuscript in there as well, which I think is really fascinating to see.
Yes, it perhaps emphasises how difficult it can be to make out what's actually on the manuscript.
And there's one other picture we should talk about, isn't there?
Yes. I would think no other manuscript has got a self-portrait of the person who owned it. I've put on the front the picture William Killey drawn by William Killey.
It's absolutely brilliant. He's got a very prominent nose.
Yes.
A fine beard and moustache. Yeah, it's a great picture.
Yes, just something completely different.
Yeah. So this book, the William Killey Flute Book, which is edited by Ian Radcliffe, you've self-published it, I believe. I
have, yes. I decided in the end that was the easiest route to take. I've only printed 100, so it's not an enormous outlay, but I'd like to get my money back.
Oh, absolutely. So where could people get hold of it?
So at the moment it's on sale at the museum, and I'm hoping that some of the other bookshops and the music shop will take a few copies.
I'm sure they will.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, thanks for coming in, Ian. It's been lovely to chat with you about this. And as I said, you can get hold of this William Killey Flute Book from a number of sources, including the museum on the island. And we'll hear something, which is Brian Stowell singing Mulla Karain. And this is a tune which is actually in the book, isn't it?
Yes, there's 2 versions in the book with minor variations between them.
Excellent. Thanks for coming in again, Ian.
Mulla Karain creturu the store Mulla merkende gumi nach dormi sachara down the lure as Mulla merkende gumi Overlacheren kred huru de stak. Malamer kan degumi. Nach door mi sacharach either devlak. As malamer kan degumi. Overlacheren kred huru na tod. Malamer kan degumi. Nach door mi sacharach either deod. As malamer kan degumi. Hog mi mega vari as mega lin. Malamer kan degumi. As hog mi dali santaga denin. As malamer kan degumi. O Ježik, tamish gael nere. Malamer kan degumi. Tau golgos a chilons the charen an ven. As malamer kan degumi. O Ježik, djechem a vregen stomme. Malamer kan degumi. As os golma giet ons the charen an ven. As malamer kan degumi. Sheon charen hu as ferelje ben. Malamer kan degumi. Vart malacharen gol the hulische sarn. As malamer kan degumi. She the fire asher is on fire of reg. Malamer kan degumi. Hjauos volacharen ons keer blien a jeg. As malamer kan degumi. Over thee, helias dot scoil nere. Malamer kan degumi. Santimus a chestim verats the gere. As malamer kan degumi. Machiacht minje malach dot volacheren. Malamer kan degumi. Sanos van kiedwanje hog tage demren. As malamer kan degumi. She malach dacht onje terrogel enin. Malamer kan degumi. Kinda Christu and drama as malacharen. As malamer kan degumi. San hudju and drama. A chucher a chrank. Malamer kan degumi. Hua malacharen a chucher a fai. As malamer kan degumi.
So that was Brian Stoll, recorded in 1973, singing Mulla Karen. And thanks again to Ian Radcliffe for coming in and talking about his book, The William Killey Flute Book. Next we have Conor Caldwell and Ryan Malloy, imagining the lost sounds of the Roaring Twenties in Ireland. Their album Oh Listen to the Band was released this year, and this is Miss Patterson's. Armfield is a singer-songwriter from the Isle of Wight. He's released an EP called Trees, dedicated to different species of tree. I'm going to play a lovely song called Oak Tree.
The gallant oak king of the woods, the carpenter thinks you look good and eyes you up with miters, nails and tacks. But I plead with the woodsman, spare the axe. And the boat builder with eyes of blue, he also has his eyes on you, for battens, beams and timbers, fore and aft. But I plead with the woodsman, spare the axe. Spare the axe from this tree, though it be gnarly as can be, though it be corseted by ivy and leaning by degrees. If you must steal it from the sky, at least please wait until I die. Bury me with an acorn in each hand. The jay, the squirrel, the nuthatch know the badger would mouse down below the goodness of the acorn and the mast. So I plead with the woodsman, spare the axe. And the undertaker measures up how many coffins he could cut and what percentage he could dare to ask. Don't line his pockets, woodman, spare the axe. Spare the axe from this tree, though it be gnarly as can be, though it be corseted by ivy and leaning by degrees. If you must steal it from the sky, at least please wait until I die, and bury me with an acorn in each hand. With each hand I strive to climb its highest branches as a child, amongst the blossom that would soon rain down confetti on my bride. And when I needed space and somewhere safe to hide my tears, this oak is where I'd come in later years. It stood 500 years or more, it's seen the likes of you before, with your 4x4s, your houses and your flats, with your planning regs, permissions and your axe. And though you may well know your fruit from nut, your sessile from pedunculate, your arse from your elbow, but still I ask, oh woodsman, won't you please lay down your axe? Oh woodman, won't you please lay down your axe? Spare your axe from this tree, though it be gnarly as can be, though it be corseted by ivy and leaning by degrees. If you must steal it from the sky, at least please wait until I die, and bury me with an acorn in each hand, and bury me with an acorn in each hand, and bury me with an acorn in each hand.
In just 2 weeks' time, Yn Chrunniaght Celtic Gathering 2024 starts on the Isle of Man. There's lots of concerts and dancing and sessions in Peel, in Douglas and also in Castletown. Just a few things to mention. On Monday the 22nd, there's a concert with Heisk and Elizabeth Davison Blythe and Daniel Quayle at the Centenary Centre at 7:30. Also that day, between 1 and 2 at Noah Bakehouse in Douglas, is a Manx food and folk session. And on Tuesday the 23rd, the session there is an Irish session. On Tuesday evening, it's Iarana, the Song Night, featuring lots of fantastic artists, and that's at the Masonic Hall in Peel. On Wednesday, as well as sessions and dancing, at 7:30 there's the Arthur Cayley 200th Birthday Cayley at the Masonic Hall also. Thursday sees sessions at Noah Bakehouse in Douglas and at Black Dog Oven in Peel, as well as one led by Jamie Smith and Frank Jocken at the Miller's Tale in Peel. And that evening there's the Celtic Seasons concert, a variety concert featuring many great singers and musicians. Friday the 26th, Mega Manx Cayley at Peel Cathedral, and again sessions and dancing all over the place. Saturday the 27th, in the evening sees the concert with Duncan Chisholm and his band featuring Ross Ainsley and Hamish Napier. And also Katie Lawrence and friends, and I'll be talking to Katie next week about that concert on the show. Sunday, things wind down with a session at the Black Dog Oven, followed by a gig by Clash 4 and the Salty Dogs. So much to look forward to. Get your tickets from ynchrunniaght.com. So going back to the first big concert on the list there, let's have something from Heisk. They released an album this year called Headstrong, and this is Peach Beach.
Safe travels wherever you go. My heart lingers to you, clings to your bones. Oh, the night's never ending on the way home. Safe travels wherever you roam. You're leaving, bound far away. My heart longs for you, but I know you can't stay. In my mind it is turning with the things I should say. When you're leaving, bound far away. Be steady as you move along. May the wind fill your sails as it carries you on. The road's never ending when you're alone. Be steady as you move along. Go slowly, make these tired eyes. Take care that these wheels stay safe in line. To go back to my arms like the softest of time. Go slowly now, tired eyes. Safe travels wherever you go. My heart lingers to you, clings to your bones. On the night's never ending on the way home. Safe travels wherever you roam.
So following Hike there, we had the new single from Christina Alden and Alex Patterson, which is called Safe Travels. They're from Norfolk, and I had that song lined up to play on the show, and then by one of those strange coincidences, Christina contacted me asking if they could come next year to play at the Institute. Of course I said yes, and hopefully we'll see them in March next year. Someone else who's played at the Institute this year is, of course, the banjo player Dan Walsh. He's a member of the band The Urban Folk Quartet, and here's some tunes from them: Before Your Eyes and The Whiplash Reel.
nothing in my favor, got the wind in my face, I'm going home. Hey, 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 over the hill, over the hill. Hey, 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 over the hill. Can't get enough of sweet cocaine, get enough of a Mary Jane. Going back to where I've gone from, going rolling back home again over the hill. Hey, 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 over the hill, over the hill. Hey, 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 over the hill. Been worried about my babies, been worried about my wife. Just one place for a man to be when he's worried about his life. I'm going home. Hey, 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 over the hill, over the hill. Hey, 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 over the hill. Well, I'm going away to leave you, I'm going to leave you in disgrace. Got nothing in my favor, rain in my face, I'm going home. Hey, 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 over the hill, over the hill. Hey, 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 over the hill, over the hill. Hey, 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 over the hill, over the
Following the Urban Folk Quartet there, we had John Martin with Over the Hill from what, no doubt I've said before, I think is the finest album ever made, Solid Air. It also featured Richard Thompson on mandolin on that track. Music happening around the island this week. There's no trad session in O'Donnell's this week because they're showing the football. Apparently England are playing. So instead of that, you could go and see Rob Middleton and Joe Russell with their host Peter Corkle at the Sailors' Shelter in Peel, starting at 8 p.m. till 10:15. There'll be the Folk Club in Ramsey at the Buffs Club on Thursday night, the session at the Mitre on Friday night in Ramsey, and there will be a Sunday afternoon session, but I've not found out where that is just yet. So, to leave you tonight, two people who've played at the Institute several times now, and who hopefully will be back next year, Brooks Williams and Aaron Catlow. This is a lovely song called Sweet Greens and Blues, the title track of the album, and it's written by Shirley Collins, Ian Chrunniaght and John Marshall. To get in touch, you can email folkshow@maxradio.com if you want to tell me about any gigs that are coming up, any music you'd like me to play, or just to say hello. It'd be lovely to hear from you. I'll be back next week to play you more folk and roots music from the Isle of Man and from all around the world, and I'll see you then.
If we don't make it this year, see what next year will bring. Seasons go turning from winter to spring. The stars in their courses say you win or you lose. Can you tell what they're saying about sweet greens and blues? We could live in a mansion with acres of land. Or we could build tiny houses according to plan. Or we live in a basement and we won't mind the view, just as long as we're living sweet greens and blues. Now the children are growing and they play round the door. One is just 3 years, the other is 4. They plague us with questions and with mud on their shoes, but they often remind us of sweet greens and blues. Now the winter is coming, with leaves turning brown. They drift through the streets of this dusty old town. Young people go walking in ones and in twos. Can you tell that they're dreaming of sweet greens and blues? If we don't make it this year, see what next year